Welcome back to episode 4. I'm Scott, also known as Supercoach Reaper, and today I will be bringing you a video on 4 potential breakout candidates for the 2021 season. Now first off, we have a player from the Carlton Blues, Sam Walsh. Now he's priced at around $543,000, which is pretty expensive for a third year player, but I'll give you some good reasons on why he may break out this season. So we can see here in 2019 he averaged 86.9 and then in 2020 he averaged 97.7. So that's a fairly big jump for a second year player. What do we think he might average in 2021? Now I'm not too sure, but I think there is potential that he may average close to 105 to 110 if things go well for him. So as we know it, he's now going into his third season. He looks ready for a big year after a very strong 2020 campaign. What's very appealing about Walsh is he's played every game in his 2 years in the competition. So he's got very good durability. Every year he seems to be getting stronger, fitter, and he's having more confidence in his ability to tear games apart. Walsh is your typical all-round midfielder. He can play on the outside and he can play on the inside, and I believe this year he's working more on his inside game so he can compete with the bigger contested inside players. I don't think he'll ever be a true wingman or a true inside midfielder. I think he'll kind of play in both depending on what role the coach wants him to play. He is a little bit iffy on foot on the outside. He doesn't really have the speed, but what makes him such a great outside player is he has a massive tank and he works hard, so he can cover a lot of distance. He compares to someone like the Andrew Gaff from West Coast Eagles, who runs all day, gets a lot of the ball, and most of the time he's pretty effective with his disposal. What really got me excited about Walsh in 2020 was in his last 10 rounds, he averaged 25 disposals and a mammoth 118 Supercoach points. He had a high score of 161, which is showing us that he has really high scoring potential. We can see here that he started off quite slow. In round 1, he had a score of 55 against the Tigers, followed up with an 89, a 75, then a 99 against the Bombers as well. He then had a 92, 115 and 140, followed by a 52 the week after. But after that 52, that's when Walsh really progressed with his football. He scored 114, 123, 98, 113, 132, a 161, an 84, and then finish off the season with an encouraging 119 points. So in 2021, he looks likely to be the second best midfielder at Carlton. He may even end up being the best midfielder at Carlton, but as for now, Patrick Cripps is still the number 1 player there. I can see Walsh averaging close to 110. He wins a lot of the ball, he can win contested possessions, he's pretty effective by foot, and hopefully he starts hitting the scoreboard a bit more, which will elevate his scoring. His price tag is a little high at the moment, but compared to the likes of other players around him at that price point, such as Trent Dumont, Dill Shield and Jack Viney, Walsh has more potential than the 3 of them, and his ceiling can be a lot higher than what they've shown over their careers. Keep a close eye on his ownership percentage going into the season. It may be worth fantasy owners taking a risk on him this year. You may reap the benefits later in the year. Alright, now it's time for breakout candidate number 2. This one is a little more risky than Sam Walsh, I'd say. His price is around $351,000. I'm not too sure if you can guess who it might be. He's from GWS Giants. He is also a fellow ringer, contested bull. Any ideas? That's right, Tom Greene. Now he's only a second year player and he's only played the 6 matches and he averaged 73 Supercoach points, which is pretty good for a first year player. But this year, things are a little different. Greene will look to increase his midfield minutes this year, as a few spots in the midfield have opened up over the off-season, of course. Greene is one of the best inside contested midfielders that I've seen come through the draft in the last several years. He reminds me of a young Clayton Oliver. Extremely clean by hand, he wins a lot of contested possessions, and he tackles as well, which is something that's very Supercoach friendly. There were 2 things that Greene needed to work on over the off-season, and I think they've been addressed. One being his fitness, the other his size. In early January, he finished top 10 in the 2K time trial, so it's shown that he has progressed with his fitness and he might be able to run out games a bit more easier this season. He also looks like he's lost a bit of the puppy fat. Now, he wasn't overweight by any means, but as junior footballers develop, they start to get rid of that kind of loose skin feel around their arms and their waist, and it turns into muscle. He looks more defined in the chest and arm region, so he will be able to compete with the stronger bodies on the inside there. Also, when comparing to Clayton Oliver, Oliver averaged around 70 points in his first year as well, and in his second year, he exploded up to 110 and hasn't looked back since. I'm getting similar vibes here. I think Greene won't average close to 110, but I think he has potential to break out to somewhere around the 100 point mark. And at 350,000, if you need a mid-pricer, he's got to be considered. So Greene demonstrated his high scoring potential in round 17 when he had 30 disposals, 3 tackles, and scored 118 Supercoach points. That is something I can definitely see him doing a lot more of in 2021. It's pretty hard to see how much Greene will improve this year. There's definitely going to be some improvement there. It's just we don't know how much. And at 350,000, we must be careful. It's in that range where it's not quite premium, it's not rookie. And if he doesn't live up to that potential, it's probably going to cost us 2 trades to upgrade him to a premium midfielder. Like Walsh, keep a very close eye on Greene in the preseason, especially the preseason games, to see if he can cement a spot in the Giants midfield. Breakout candidate, number 3. Now there's a bit of bias for this one. As a North fan, I've been waiting for this bloke to break out for years. I thought he'd come onto the scene and do more. Well, that's probably harsh, as all players develop differently, and this player has taken a little longer to develop than others, but his form over the last year or two suggests that he's ready to break out. That player being Davies-Uniacke, also known as LDU. Now he's priced at 432,800, which is not really a mid-pricer, but it's not a premium, it's in between. His 2019 average was 63, his 2020 average was 80.5, but that was only from 9 matches. He suffered through osteitis pubis through the beginning of the season, so he didn't return to the full training and to the squad until mid-year. So what do we think he can average in 2021? I think he'd probably get close to the 100 mark. There is 17 points of improvement from 2019 to 2020. Now if he can add 17 plus a couple little extra points on the side there, let's say 20 points, that'll get him to the 100 mark. Is it enough for us to pick him if he averages 100? I'm not sure. He only averaged 80 points in 2020. But what impressed me the most was he now looks more comfortable at AFL level. In his first few seasons at the club, he seemed to shy away from the contest a bit. I don't think he had the confidence in his body, and he didn't have the self-confidence that he could take players on or lay big bumps or big tackles. So I think that's something that he's improved on in 2021, and he's come back this pre-season in much better nick, and he has improved his fitness without getting the OP injury again. If you look at his disposal average and a few of his scores in 2020, he did increase his possession average by 2.4 compared to 2019, and that is with the shorter quarters as well. So if there was full quarters, he probably could have averaged close to 20 disposals a game. He returned in round 8 against Carlton and only scored 48 from 7 disposals. We let him off the hook there a bit because it's his first game back. He has to find his rhythm again. But he bounced back the following week and had 17 disposals and kicked 2 goals, but just scored the 79 points. The following 2 weeks after that, he got 24 disposals, scored 97, and then he had 15 disposals and scored 86. Now, he only had the 15 disposals for 86 points, but what made his score higher than probably it suggests is that he does win a lot of contested possessions, so that elevates his score, and that's something that we need to keep an eye on with all our Supercoach choices. And in round 16, we can see he had his best score of the year, which was 129, also his best score of his career as well. He'd only ever scored over 100 once in his first few seasons at the club, and that was when he scored 118 against the Brisbane Lions of 26 disposals in 2019. So LDU's been training pretty closely with Jai Simpkin, who at the moment is on fire. He's winning every single time trial at the club. He looks stronger and fitter than ever, and for LDU to shadow himself next to Simpkin indicates that he really wants to get the best out of his body and his performance. Look for LDU to win more ball in 2021. Look for him to score more consistently throughout the year. With such a young midfielder at North Melbourne now, he must step up, take the opportunity and push himself to get the best out of this football club in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, breakout candidate number 4 is actually a forward. I don't mind a breakout candidate in the forward line. He's a little pocket rocket. He's one of a fan favourite as well, so that's something that I do like too. He plays at the Port Adelaide Power. He increased his average by 27 points from 2019 to 2020, which is massive. He kicks goals, he wins contested ball, he has big impacts on game, and he can find the pill. They call him Zach Butters. Now Butters is priced at 471,400, which is pretty close to premium forward price for me. In 2019 he averaged 60.5 points and then improved that to 87.5 in 2020. What can he average in 2021? For me, I reckon he gets to 100, and if he's getting to 100 as a forward, that's premium status too. So Butters is a small dynamic forward midfielder who plays similar to Robbie Gray in the forward line. He does his best work forward to centre, and due to his decision making, composure with ball in hand and ability to hit the scoreboard, that's when he can have a massive impact on games. What makes him more appealing is that he can play through the midfield. Butters will continue to score well just because he has such an impact on games. He will score highly in moments of need. He will set up lots of goals throughout the game as well, which scores quite well in Supercoach. He averaged 95 Supercoach points in the final 7 games of the season, just giving us a little tease on what we can expect in 2021. If Butters is able to increase his disposal average by somewhere 3 to 5 extra possessions a game and hit that scoreboard a little bit more, he should elevate to over 100 average pretty easily, I think. Everything is pointing to Butters having a breakout year in 2021, and we can expect him to get more midfield opportunities throughout the year as well, which is very encouraging. Alright, they're the 4 main breakout candidates that I think will explode in 2021, or at least have the potential to. But I do have some other potential breakouts as well. I've had a brief look throughout Supercoach and their stats, and I've been reading to see how they're going throughout the pre-season. I'll rattle off a few names here that we should keep a close eye on. I've got Jai Caldwell from the Bombers. He's got dual position status as well, so he's listed as a forward and a midfielder. He's listed at $348,000, which is right in that mid-range price point. He should get more midfield minutes at the Bombers now since he's left GWS, because they have such a stacked midfield. Another breakout player could be Caleb Sarong from Fremantle. He's just listed as a mid this year, unfortunately, so he's at $435,000. But his first year was brilliant. Arguably could have nearly won the Rising Star. Actually, did he win the Rising Star? I can't remember. But he should get more midfield minutes as well. He did have a little problem with fitness, but I think every year he's going to get fitter and stronger. He's going to be a full-time inside midfielder in the next couple of years. He's also very good above his head, so he can drift forward, take a mark and kick a goal. I've got Jackson Haitley from Adelaide now. He's at $310,000. He's a real mid-pricer. He should get a lot of midfield minutes there. They don't have the strongest midfield anymore, and he's a young player desperate for midfield minutes, and that's where he plays his best football. Leaving the Giants was a good decision for him. I've got Jack Scrimshaw in defence, $399,600. Due to the ACL injury of Sicily from 2020, I can see Scrimshaw taking over his role. Now, he's very good on both sides of the body, he can read the play and he's good in the air. He should be able to take plenty of intercept marks this season, which means he will score more Supercoach points. I've got the second year player in Noah Anderson from the Gold Coast Suns. He's at $411,000. He had a brilliant year last year. I started with him at $202,000 and I don't think many people did. I had him for about 13 weeks, I think, and he was very consistent, especially towards the end of the year. Started to get those high 80s and then into the 100 scoring, so that's something that we can see from him in 2021. And finally, I've got Nicholas Caulfield from the St Kilda Saints, a defensive player. He's at $426,000. He saw some gradual improvement in his scoring in 2020, so as he gets more experience, his scoring will increase as well. That's the remaining of the potential breakout candidates I've got written here. I will still be searching for more as I edge closer to the season, but for now, that's a good list to start with. Let us know in the comments on who you think may break out. So thanks for watching yet again. This is episode 4 on breakout candidates. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.